Hey guys, so welcome back to our podcast. My name is Jimena, and I'm here with Sydney and Destiny. She's with Our Weddings and Events. We're gonna ask her a couple questions, and she's just gonna talk about her background and everything. So, would you like to introduce yourself?
I'm Cindy. What would you like me to say?
Tell us a little bit more about your profession in the wedding and event industry.
Okay, so I started wedding coordinating about 32 years ago and decided I wanted to start a venue when my kids got out of the house. And so they all got out around 2014, and I opened up the house the end of 2014, beginning of 2015, and then it just expanded from there. So that's kind of how I started.
Nice. So the house is that's the name of the venue.
Yeah,
the first one, the house. Okay.
Right. We started out as Our Wedding House for my last name, Regier, and then as the business started growing, we started adding other venues. So it now had to be something different. It had to evolve. Yeah. So it evolved into Our Weddings and Events as we added multiple venues. I also have a cousin that came in whose name starts with R, so that's how it's just a play on
the
words
R.
instead of our.
Yeah.
So.
That's cool. Okay.
Thank you.
So, Destiny, do you have a question for Sydney?
Why don't you tell us about yourself a little bit, like where you're from, where...
So I live between Kingsburg and Dinuba. My address is a Dinuba address. I used to live in the house where the venue is now. I no longer. The house is now an Airbnb with the venue and during off-season. I have grown up in this area. I had lots of children. I have 3 of my own, 2 adopted, and we did foster care for 18 years. So we had 30-plus kids coming through the place.
Yeah. That's awesome. So when you started off your the first venue, of course. Yeah. How was that with your time and management on that?
So
staff?
Very interesting. Did not know what to expect. We started out with a friend's daughter's wedding was the first one. Now we had done friends and family over the years, but not as a business. And so the very first wedding, we were actually nailing up boards along the fence as she's getting ready to have her guests seated and come down the aisle. And then it just grew from there. There was such a huge response to our venue the first 2 years, we couldn't keep up. And so we were on the bubble of all of the outdoor venues coming to be here in the Valley. So I think timing was great.
Wow.
So kind of jumping off that a little bit, I had my wedding at the house back in 2015.
Oh, dang.
Me and Martin got married there.
Yep, one of our
Insert picture
early
now.
ones. That's right. Give us a wedding picture.
Right. We were actually looking at them today, and
she
she's
was
like,
like,
I can't.
I was like, it feels a long time ago, but it wasn't really that long.
Right.
So kind of like off of that, so that was your first wedding venue, the house.
Correct.
And now you own 7 or 8?
So I only own the one, but I
I see.
lease 12 others.
Oh, wow.
So there's 13 right now.
Wow.
So dumb.
She's like busy 24/7.
24/7.
Just so kind of leading off of that, so if you want to tell us about your venues.
Sure.
Yeah.
So the second one we opened is called The Ranch, and it's just outside of Selma. And that one just evolved. I knew the nephew of the owner, and he asked if I wanted to come and set up a venue. Never even had contemplated doing something like that. So I went in and drew it up and presented it to the owner, and we built it, and it's very popular. That one is booked all the time. Wow. And then that one evolved into what we call the West Side Island. Mm-hmm. The owner of that property went to high school with my son, my oldest son, and so he has a beautiful pond, and it's on the Kings River, and he wanted a venue out there. So we developed one out there. After that, I think these two were kind of at the same time, the Alley V, which is outside of Fresno on the west side here, and Riverview Ranch, which is also on the Kings River near Kingsburg. Those two kind of opened within the same year. Riverview Ranch has now partnered with Ramos Torres Winery within Kingsburg for receptions. And then we opened Meadows Rest, which there's a wedding there tonight, Friday the 13th wedding.
Okay, fun fact. I
yeah.
actually got married Friday the 13th in November, but I thought it went perfectly actually.
Okay, I'll throw in my own fun fact.
Okay.
My parents got married on Friday the 13th. Yep. And they were married until the very end. So, so it's not necessarily a suspicion, bad thing.
Superstition.
Superstition,
there
that's
you
the
go.
word. Then we opened recently Suntara Estates, which is a beautiful little place just outside of Fowler. Legacy Ranch is a huge undertaking that we are working on right now. It's just outside of Kingsburg. It will be our first year-around venue that has indoor and outdoor ability. Also has an Airbnb on that property and RV hookups. So it's a huge place. We're looking to do executive kind of dinners and that kind of thing. We're working on some nonprofit stuff out there right now as well. Then we opened Double K Barn, also hosting a wedding tonight on Friday the 13th. We have South Fork, which is down in Lemoore, the Chapel at Mendezville, very fun little place, and most recent Sunset Acres, which is also in Fowler. So
you mentioned your one of your first venues is indoor and outdoor. So mostly your venues are outdoor. Is there kind of like, is that because of preference or is that just something that kind of happened?
just happened. People came to me and said, hey, I want a venue, and good grief, I really truly made it up as I went. I would go out and think about traffic pattern and restrooms and ceremony and reception and catering, and then figure out what was the most organized way to put that together on their property. And so that's, and we just now got Legacy Ranch just a few months ago. That one's opening at the end of this year, and it has the indoor facility. So because they've all been outdoor, we've kind of had a spring season, which is end of March till the middle of June because of heat. And then we shut down and open back up usually middle of September and go until the middle of November for fall.
So what has been like your reason as far as like what's the most rewarding takeaway from this industry and owning and managing venues?
Why do you keep doing what you're doing?
Oh my-
Because you said
'cause
so stressed.
Because I'm an addict, apparently. I don't know. Is there a good answer to this? I actually love what I do. I love working with the brides. I love showing the properties and talking to them about all the different ideas that they may have that they want to make the venue their own with decorating or... You know, we've had some really clever brides. Last year, we had a couple of girls get married on the Halloween weekend, and we had caskets for charcuterie bars, and we had an altar that was the shape of a casket. So lots of fun things come out of this whole industry. A lot of hair pulling and a lot of stress. A lot of emotions happen with weddings, and family dynamics a lot of times get in the way, and so not every wedding goes smoothly. Often I'll say if something doesn't go wrong, then you're not really married, because the nature of the beast is for something to go wrong. Just because you're managing so many people and so many variables happening with vendors and that kind of thing. So
Well, I have a question for you. So with all that, going on, what wedding has been the most memorable? Do you have a wedding that's in your head that you're like, oh, I'll never forget this? For good and bad, I don't know.
I have several
She's
for
like,
bad,
one
but I
comes
can't.
to mind.
Where do I
can't
get
tell
started?
those.
No.
I would say probably one of my most memorable would be the very first wedding at Westside Island. We had a lot of issues getting that venue completed by the date that the girl had reserved it for. So apparently I'm a great salesperson. Had no idea prior to this. I was a stay-at-home mom with lots of children. So I would take people out and show them the potential and literally draw up what I'm going to do and say, trust me, I'm going to build a venue. And, you can get married out here in 6 months with it like virtually nothing. And so the very first one at Westside Island was... we pulled our hair out on that one. We just couldn't get all the projects done. And so the mom called me a few weeks before the wedding, she's like, be honest, if it's not going to happen, let's move her to the house on that weekend because it was available.
Yeah.
And I said, I promise you, it's going to happen. And it did happen. Rebecca was the bride, and it was a stunning wedding, and she actually ended up being published in multiple wedding publications.
Wow.
It was so pretty. So
We need
that's
to see some
probably-
pictures.
Oh, for sure. For sure. She did an amazing job. So
That's awesome.
I bet like just seeing your venue though in those magazines or publishments, you're like, wow.
it is fun. Yeah, that is
You're like,
rewarding. So
that's okay.
Right. And I just have to say, we could not do what we do without the amazing property owners that we have, because they are responsible for the upkeep and making sure it looks beautiful every weekend and cleaning and all of that. So, yeah,
Comes with all.
it's a
Whole
group
package.
group effort for sure.
So kind of leading from that question, has there been something that's kind of most challenging as far as not necessarily people, but maybe like during COVID and last year, like all the rain and mud and all those things that we had last year?
Oh my goodness. So COVID was really difficult. That the week that they shut everything down was our first wedding week for that season. And I felt so sorry for the girls that were, getting ready to go down the aisle that weekend and they couldn't. So we scrambled, we shut everything down, we moved everybody that we could. Some girls we had to move to different venues because they still wanted to get married that fall. And there was a lot that went into that. COVID was difficult. I would say we're still trying to work our way out of the hole that COVID put us in this year. So that's been very hard. We lost a lot of clients. It just went backwards.
Yeah.
And then the rain, yes. So Riverview Ranch is on the river. It's a multi-level venue. The lower level went under early spring and stayed under until summer. So we had girls that were very disappointed because they thought their weddings weren't going to happen this fall. And thank goodness they got the water down and we've got it repaired, and there's a wedding on the lower level tomorrow out there.
Awesome.
So yeah, the water was crazy. The other thing that happened was there were venues that were trying to keep their clients at their venue even though it was flooded, which is crazy. Yeah. So one particular venue let the girl know 1 week before her wedding they weren't going to be able to host her. And so the bride called and said, do you have anything? We did. We happened to have the Alley V open here in Fresno. Awesome. And so within 7 days, we had her entire wedding moved, and it was beautiful. So
I think that's really cool and really notable that you were able to do that for her. And I think other venues would just be like, sorry.
Yeah. That is the beauty of having all these venues.
Yeah.
If one's full, well, that one's not, or that one isn't, so.
Mm-hmm. What is maybe unique about our weddings and events?
Well, the fact that we do have multiple venues that all look different. So we have all the way from Mariposa out to Lemoore. So we cover a large space. We have venues that are big, venues that are small, venues with overnight accommodations. All of our venues come with site coordinators, which are girls that will run rehearsals, ceremonies, receptions, oversee vendors, all of that. Also, what makes us very unique is that we only do one client per weekend. So if you are getting married on Saturday, you have access to our property Friday evening for your rehearsal or to leave belongings on the site. Saturday morning, the venue is yours, and you may come back on Sunday morning and clean up.
That is pretty cool.
We don't crank out the girls and get you on crazy crunch timelines where you have a hour to clean up or whatever.
That happened to us. It's just
It's added stress.
Yeah, it is. You don't want to be doing that, especially after
Right.
everything coming to an end. No.
Yeah, for sure. So that is something that we maintain, one client per weekend, so we can focus on you as a client.
Mena, do you have any questions?
I do. So I was talking to Destiny earlier actually, and we were saying that some staff that you have are previous brides that got married. Is that's something unique about?
Yes. Yeah, you would think that in all the craziness, the last thing you want to do is work in the industry after you have a wedding. But we have multiple girls that come back and say, okay, that was fun. I loved working with you guys. Can I come in as a coordinator? So
That's awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to ask you directly. I was
Yeah.
like, let me just ask her.
yep, we have quite a few girls that's the case.
Maybe do you want to talk about the vendor catalog first?
I was just contemplating things in the world one day and how divided the world is right now, and even within our own communities, and how there's just everything's divided right now. So I got to thinking about what could I do within the wedding industry to create community versus division. And so I came up with an idea, coffee with a vendor. So that's how this started. Several months ago, I put it out, and I'm still doing it. Who would like to have coffee with me? And then a random vendor from the valley. It doesn't matter what they do, but they'll contact and say me, and I'll meet them. And so we meet and have coffee, and then I post them on our social media and tag their business. So hopefully they get additional followers. And so as I was doing this for several months, my daughter-in-law, who was one of my brides, she said, why don't you make a catalog? I said, oh my gosh, that's a great idea. So we put together, and we just released it at the beginning of October, a Central Valley vendor catalog. And it was a minimal fee for you to be in it as a vendor, and it highlights all the different vendors that joined us. It's a beautiful catalog. Alyssa is one of my coordinators who also got married at the house. She put it together. She did such a great job. It's free to anybody that wants to see it. It is a online digital catalog right now, but we do hope to get some published, and they would be beautiful magazines. And so that's been really fun. So we're trying to create community within the wedding business because there's just so much division in our world. At the end of this year, in December, we're going to host a thank you to any vendor that has worked at any of our venues. We're going to have them out to Legacy Ranch and have an evening where everybody just come out and have a snack and
I was
just
like, that sounds fun. Can we go?
I know. I'm like, we want to go.
absolutely come. Yeah,
in.
so we are creating community. That's our
Awesome.
our goal this year.
So that's what B and Hector are doing here. They're not here today for you to meet them, but a shocking good time. That's they wanted to do community within Central Valley businesses.
Yeah, we've had multiple people,
cool.
telling a little bit of what they do and just, showing them out to Central Valley for, people to meet, So it's pretty cool what they're
Love
doing.
it. I love that you guys are doing that. And thanks for having me.
Yeah, we wanted to have you on here today.
Did you want to tell us about your classified catering?
Oh, classified cuisine. So it's called RWE for Our Weddings and Events, Classified Cuisine, and we're doing underground dinners. And so my idea behind that was also along the lines of creating community. So bringing people together to break bread via a meal that don't typically know each other. And my other idea was to highlight private properties in the Central Valley that people normally wouldn't see because it's not a venue or whatever, but maybe you love your backyard and you're like, oh, I would love to have 30 people for dinner. And so we come in, we bring the tables and chairs, we bring the food, we bring the cocktails, and we set up a meal at their property. We do not tell those that purchase tickets where it's going to be until the morning of, and then we send out an address through an email. And so each dinner is going to be different. As far as our last one was our first one, we did a Spanish-influenced meal and had cocktails that were paired with the meal, and we did 5 courses. So we have our next one scheduled for December 7th. So if you guys want to come, you can order your tickets on our website, ourweddingsandevents.com. And it's $100 a ticket, and we have some really fun things we're working on because it's Christmas. It's between Thanksgiving and Christmas, so we thought we're going to kind of embrace the 2 holidays with this dinner.
That sounds really cool. That sounds
I think
fun.
we're going to go.
Please come. Please
No,
come.
you're going to see a lot of us.
Tell our friends.
Yes, bring it.
That's awesome.
Amanda, do you have any questions?
I think I don't. Do you have anything you'd like to share or tell us before we close?
I don't think so. Thanks for having me, ladies. This was so much
Do you have any
fun.
questions, Destiny?
No, I don't. I think you gave us a lot of information, but we greatly appreciate you coming on. When we started this, we were just kind of thinking of people. And I was like, I know someone.
You do.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it was really nice having you. I learned a lot actually.
you.
Which,
Nice to meet
yeah, nice to meet you.
Thank you. Good to see you again, Destiny.
And we'll be tagging Cindy's website, her Instagram page. So if you're interested, if you're going to be getting married soon, having an event, please consider Cindy's beautiful venues.
See you next time. Bye.